Hello friends, as part of the crash course to the civil service examination, we have been looking into the current affairs issues and how the questions are, or what are the potential areas of the questions and upon different issues. And in this session, we shall see certain current affairs issues relating to fundamental rights. There have been several happenings and there have been several judgments relating to certain issues which have been declared as fundamental right, which have been declared not to be a fundamental right, etc. We shall look into those aspects and what are the potential areas of question relating to those areas. First of all, the Supreme Court had given a judgment relating to West Bengal Madrasa Act, West Bengal Madrasa Service Commission Act of 2008, wherein the Supreme Court has declared that state has the power to, that the state is empowered to regulate minority educational institutions. Alright, this has been a judgment given by the Supreme Court in the recent past. Relating to this, what are the potential areas of question? The potential areas of question are right to freedom of religion. Right to freedom of religion. As you know, the provisions of right to freedom of religion are given between Article 26 to 28, and the related provisions are Article 29 and Article 30, the cultural and educational rights of minorities, which is given in Article 29 and 30. I'm sorry, it is not Article 26, it is 25, Article 25 to 28. Alright, these provisions you have to see: 25, 26, 27, 28, all the four provisions relating to right to freedom of religion and the cultural and educational rights of minorities given in Article 29 and 30. This case is more related to Article 30, the right of the religious and linguistic minorities to set up educational institutions as given in Article 30. This is relating to, the judgment is relating to Article 30 only. However, we are extrapolating it to Article 25 to 28 because it is relating to religious minorities. Fine. What is Article 30? First we will understand what is given in Article 30. After that we will go to the related issues or the potential area of the question. See, Article 30 of the Constitution provides for, see, this has been already asked in the prelims. Article 30 recognizes two minorities. One is linguistic, the other is religious. This has been already asked in the prelims. What are the two minorities which Article 30 or the Constitution of India recognizes, which are two in number? One is linguistic, the other is religious. The religious minorities and linguistic minorities are the two minorities recognized by the Indian Constitution by Article 30. One point to be noted. Secondly, according to Article 30 Clause 1, right? Article 30 Clause 1 provides for the right of the linguistic and religious minorities to establish educational institutions and administer them on their own. Clear? To set up, to establish, set up and administer the educational institutions on their own. This right is guaranteed to religious and linguistic minorities. Now the question is, how do you define minorities? Is there a law that defines minorities? No. The term minority has not been defined in any law, nor the Constitution has defined the term minority. We use the interpretation of the United Nations, which says that a minority is a group of people who are non-dominant in a given locality, either by way of religion, they have embraced, or by way of the language they speak. If they are a non-dominant group, then such denominations are called as minority in a given locality. That's what you mean by minority, or that's how minority is being determined in the Constitution of India, or for the purpose of Constitution of India. And such minorities in any locality are given the right of establishing their own education institutions and administer them on their own, and the state will not interfere into the administration of such educational institutions. So far so good. However, with respect to the minority educational institutions, I write it as MEI, which means minority educational institutions. There are two important issues. One is regulation of the state with respect to these institutions and acquisitioning of the property of such minorities. When it comes to regulation, it is very clearly and expressly mentioned in Article 30, as well as clarified by the Supreme Court, that the state can regulate the educational institutions set up by the linguistic or religious minorities by exercising the right guaranteed by Article 30 for maintaining the excellence of education and the welfare of the children or the students who are admitted to these institutions. Based on that only, the West Bengal Madrasa Regulation Act was, Madrasa Commission Act was, West Bengal Madrasa Service Commission Act was enacted in 2008, which was challenged by the minority groups, which the Supreme Court has not admitted but has upheld the law. Right? The Supreme Court has upheld the law. West Bengal Madrasa Service Commission Act has been upheld under the provision that the state has the right to regulate the minority institutions, especially to maintain the qualification of the teachers so as to ensure the excellence in the education system. And then comes the idea of acquisitioning of property. After the 44th Amendment Act, right, after the 44th Amendment Act, (1976), the right to property has been repealed as a fundamental right. No more it is a fundamental right to individuals. However, the minority educational institutions, right, when it comes to minority education institutions, it still amounts to be a fundamental right, because the 44th Amendment Act enacted and inserted Article 30, Clause 1A, which deals with the acquisitioning of property of the minority educational institutions. Article 30, Clause 1A provides that in case any property of the minority educational institution were to be acquisitioned by the state. Acquisitioning means compulsorily state taking over the property of anyone for a public purpose. For instance, if they want to, if there is a need for acquisitioning the property, or if there is a need for taking over the property for, say, construction of road, then the property can be taken over. However, if it is the property of a minority educational institution, either religious or linguistic, then Article 30, Clause 1A says they should be provided an adequate compensation. Remember, adequate compensation that will not, or that will enable them to set up and run the institution, because it is a fundamental right guaranteed by Article 30. Right? This in turn means even if there is a need for the state to give a compensation that may be more than the value of the property, then yes, the state has to bear the cost and provide for it. That is the important provision of Article 30, Clause 1A as inserted by 44th Amendment Act. I hope it's clear to you now. Now again, along with this, there is another judgment of Supreme Court relating to right to property. We shall deal with that as well along with this. There have been two other judgments. After the 44th Amendment Act, as I had already told you, right to property guaranteed by Article 31 and Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause F were declared repealed, meaning Article 31 and Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause F were deleted from the Constitution by the Constitution 44th Amendment Act 1978. Please correct it, it is 1978, not 76. The 44th Amendment Act 1978. The 44th Amendment Act 1978 repealed Article 31 and 19, Clause 1, Subclause F. As a result, right to property was no more a fundamental right. Instead, it added Article 300A, which made right to property a constitutional right. Article 300A inserted by 44th Amendment Act reads that no person shall be deprived of his right to property save by the authority of law. Say by the authority of law, the property can be taken over even now. But the remedy can be only ordinary legal course, but it cannot be a remedy under Article 32. Whereas, because of Article 30, Clause 1A, the Clause 1A added to Article 30 by the 44th Amendment Act 1978, even if the property of a minority educational institution is acquisitioned, the compensation has to be adequately given, and if there was a dispute relating to compensation, then such institutions can move the Supreme Court under Article 32 seeking a constitutional remedy. This is the most important difference. Now coming to this issue, to the individuals. Recently, the Supreme Court gave a judgment that although right to property is not a fundamental right to individuals, it is a human right. It is a human right. The court ruled that citizens' right to own private property is a human right. Right? The state cannot take possession of the right without due procedure and authority of law. If due procedure is not followed, and if due authority is not proven, and if the need for taking over the property of the private property of an individual is justified in connection to the objective of the law, then it would be considered as violative of human rights. So the court has ruled that though it is not a fundamental right, it has to be considered as a human right. And the state cannot violate the human right because human rights are implied in Article 21. Human rights are implied rights of Article 21. You will also study about implied rights in the Constitution. There are several rights that are implied in Article 21. So, as a matter of fact, even the right to property, which is a human right, can be considered as an implied right of Article 21. Though for implied rights you don't have direct remedy under Article 32, now we have the authority to, or we have the right to move the court for remedy. So, there are two things relating to fundamental rights we have seen here. One is the power of the state to regulate the minority education institutions for securing the excellence in education. Second is the right to property is a human rights. Now, relatedly, what are the other potential areas of the question here? With respect to Article 30, we have to understand the acquisitioning of property, which is directly related to right to property, which is declared to be a human right when it comes to private property ownership. Secondly, you have to focus on the right to freedom of religion between 25 and 28. Article 25 and 28 are the articles between 25 and 28 are important because they guarantee the right to freedom of religion. Remember, this has already been asked in the mains. They have asked in the mains, what are the constitutional provisions that guarantee the right to freedom of religion, and do they really make Indian constitution a secular one? This was a question asked in the mains. Please be informed of that, and you have to make note of this for not only prelims but also for the mains. And remember, the term secularism is very much in news, and you can reserve secularism for the mains. Right? What is secularism? Is secularism relevant to India? And if so, how? Is India a secular constitution? So much questions can be asked in the mains as well. So prepare for secularism as a matter of fact. Then, the right to freedom of religion between Article 25 and 28. Right to freedom of religion guaranteed in Article 25 are right to conscience, profess, practice and propagate a religion of one's faith. Then Article 26 provides for right to property. Again, right to property comes into force. There are three sets of people to whom right to property is still a fundamental right. The minority, groups and denominations under Article 26. Right, under Article 26. So let me write here again. Let me please rub this off and write it for you. Even after 44th Amendment Act. Right, even after 44th Amendment Act, right to property is still a fundamental right for one, the religious groups and denominations. Please note down here, it is not minority, it is for all religions. Religious groups or denominations. Please be aware. Article 26 guarantees right to property to all religious groups and not only the minorities. I underline, not only the minorities, for all religious groups. Then, Article 30, Clause 1A. Here, minority is important. The minority educational institutions. It could be linguistic minority education institutions or religious minorities educational institution. Then, Article 31A, Clause 2. This is for individuals. In case an individual owns a piece of agricultural land under his personal cultivation and the land is within the limits of the Sealing Act prevailing in the state, and if it is his only means of livelihood, if these three conditions are satisfied, it must be an agricultural land under personal cultivation, within the limits of Land Sealing Act of that state, then it should be only means of livelihood for that individual. Then it will be a fundamental right to property. So, only for these three, under these conditions, the right to property still remains a fundamental right, and for all others, it is no more a fundamental right. I hope it's clear to you. So let us sum it up. With respect to Article 30, look into linguistic and types of minorities, the right of the minorities to set up institutions, then right to freedom of religion, please make note, and right to property is not only though it is not a fundamental right, it is a human right as ruled by the Supreme Court, and for these three set of people, still it is a fundamental right. Right? We shall further go into other aspects of fundamental right in the current affairs in the upcoming sessions. So, thank you friends. We shall do it in the next session.